Oh, hey everybody. Um, I would like to say something right quick. I made a post on my channel, and I don't know how many likes it has. That doesn't matter. It was basically a hint post, and you see the title. So I'm gonna be reviewing my honest opinions about the flowers of evil. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. Going up to here, The Flowers of Evil, 11 volumes long and also 57 chapters long. Next up, I'll be reading The Promised Neverland. That should be fun. So, yeah. The Flowers of Evil. I, People say it's a disturbing manga series, but to me, it's it's I'll give you the rating. To me, it was a rated R story, and it had um, a few moments, but it didn't focus on that completely, if you know what I mean. Instead, it focused on life with the main character, and then as the story went on, it got sad. But by the time you reach the final chapter, you're thinking to yourself that that's the most disturbing part of the entire story is the ending. The ending is the most disturbing part of the Flowers of Evil. However, um I looked up something and it answered it for me. Um it just as the story went on, it was so sad. Now, to viewers who are not used to that type of material, and the author made a little notebook as well, by the way, saying that Stuvie, that your story moves on forward. Now, I was binge reading The Flowers of Evil, and I absolutely loved the story, except for the sad parts and the other parts and stuff like that. I am honestly going to say that The Flowers of Evil to me is a 10 out of 10. Um it's definitely worth a reread. It does have a lot of funny moments in it, and it has a few um disturbing moments, but the most disturbing part is the ending of the story. Now, I can't really explain because I, I'm at a loss of words. Usually, with mangas and my own as well, mangas, I put the S on there at the end. Usually, I have answers, but I, I honestly don't have an answer. Other than I liked the story, except for what I told all of you. I don't understand. I looked up on Google to see if um Awa is her last name, so I'll go with that. AWA or whatever. However you want to say it. The girl with the glasses. Now, before I get to my point, when I'm reading mangas, I listen to music and I voice um actors and actresses as the certain characters because it's creative like that. It's more fun and you can hear the voice in your head. But what I was saying was that yeah, that ending threw me right off. I mean, holy crap. Um you can see I'm shocked. I'm actually in shock. It's not I don't really know how to explain it. But the early stages of the Flowers of Evil is actually, it's really good. Then you get to chapter 57, the final chapter in volume 11, and that's the most disturbing part of the story of how it ends. So, they said that the character didn't die, but she was being consumed by all this stuff, and she viewed everyone else as monsters, and then she turned into a shadow monster. I'm not even joking. So, when she was asking for somebody to help her, she turned into a shadow monster. So, yeah, I count her as dead. She died. While the main character and his wife and kid got to move on happy lives, but then it rewinds back to where the story started and where the main character actually met the said character I'm talking about. And then you flip the page in shock and you're like, wow, the author actually wrote a note. Um, and I'm glad that the author did, but my god, that was a very interesting story. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna be rereading it soon. Now, I want to say something right quick about Sundome. You saw my shelf, everyone. You saw it. You saw what's on there. So, about Sundome, that's also gonna be worth a reread as well for a second time because the story was interesting and it was kind of like a psychological thriller. To me, The Flowers of Evil was a suspenseful thriller story, but still has that R rating in there. Um, good God. Again, with that story, I'm in so much shock right now, and I don't know why. Like, you take a character that you like, and I'm also one to say this too, because if you know my actual, like, the mangas I make, the main characters and everything, which I'm coming up with a nice, juicy story. But however, and by juicy, I mean a very awesome story. However, I don't want to talk about that right now because it's not finished. There was actually one chapter where I was like, yeah, this girl is making a novel and the main character is trying to cheer her on but goes about it in the wrong way possible. And instead, when the novel was finished that she wanted him to read, he tells her about his past instead, and that makes her feel down, and she rips up her novel. But he did say that the main character, which became his wife, by the way, which I was really happy about, but it's my God, there were so many moments where I wanted to actually cry. I wanted to cry while reading the story, but I can't shed any tears. I just don't feel tears, but I feel the sadness. Like, you get devoted isn't the right word. Okay, here it is. You get so attached to said characters, and then they just. I. My god, this is the hardest manga to actually ever explain in all of my years of YouTube, and that's okay because if it's hard to explain, then hey, give yourself a pat on the back and all kinds of fun stuff. God, man. But that image, excuse me, it's burned into my mind. I will admit that I want to say this, between the two, when I was done reading Sundome, I was looking up information. This is a bonus for this video, by the way. I was looking up information if Sahana actually died, and it said yes. So I read the last page of Sundome. I can't see what volume it is, but it's actually a longer story than The Flowers of Evil, which is a lot to say because The Flowers of Evil has 11 volumes with 57 chapters. However, that's okay. Yeah, I went to bed and felt sad when I was done reading Sundome. It still makes me feel sad because, again, you get attached to a lot of characters. And I was getting attached to so many characters that I was like, wow, that just happened. Well, everybody, I am sorry if this was a waste of your time. Please feel free to comment anything, except for being toxic and all that stuff. And um, I think I'm gonna go listen to music for a little bit, or at least play one of my favorite games. I don't know. But I want to say this. No one on the internet can tell me what to do. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know where that came from. It's actually best if I just end the video here. Also, Japanese Darth Vader shirt. Everybody, no, we already talked about that. You know who the shoutouts go to. You know what I say in the end. Also a very good song by Linkin Park. I might actually just listen to that song. It's one of my favorite songs from their entire history of songs from Linkin Park. Breaking the Habit and In the End and What I've Done. Very good songs. If you haven't listened to them yet, I highly recommend it. Well, that is if you're into dark songs. But yeah, I'm gonna you know what I would say by this point, everybody. So as a bonus, I would like to say that I'm not gonna. Well, I might be able to play Resident Evil 9 Requiem on the same day, but I might be just a little bit late, and I will be playing it in the dark, third person, stuff like that. And yes, I've been keeping up with the lore. If they're a bunch of my friends have told me that there's an anime to the Flowers of Evil, and I was like, I really don't know if there actually is. And if there is, my God, I don't even know what I would think of it. I don't get me wrong. Again, I like the Flowers of Evil. It was a fantastic story. Everything I've read in my entire life, everything I've made in my entire life has been fantastic. And I apologize yet again for not putting a N on Vengeance because the recent Resident Evil story can be named by many things. Take it as you will. I'm I'm gonna go listen to music now and probably watch funny videos on YouTube to start out with. um or I can continue playing. I don't know. I'll decide after I'm done. But thank you all so much for watching, so on and so forth. Again, you know what I would say um by this point in the video. So the video's over now. Again, feel free to comment whatever you want, and I will see all you in the next one. Peace out for now, everybody. Bye bye. But first, remember to drink water like me. Done!